Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. First and foremost, I want to give my heartfelt condolences to the decedent and his family members. What occurred last night was certainly very tragic, very sad. When Mayor Frey appointed me as chief of the Minneapolis Police Department, I was very steadfast and strong on what our department vision, values, and our culture change would be moving forward. And one of those pillars is sanctity of life. We know that there are inherent dangers in the profession of policing, but the vast majority of the work we do does never require the use of force. So again, my condolences, deepest condolences to him and his family members. This situation and tragedy last night, I've been obviously up all night and reviewing the information that I have to make the decision that I'm standing before you today with many of the community leaders behind me. Before involved former employees, I've made that decision this afternoon. This is still an ongoing criminal matter that the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is investigating, as well as our FBI. And so all of our actions, they have an impact, and they certainly can have a consequence. I was very fortunate to hear from many of our community leaders today and how it's impacted our city. And public trust continues, and it must be the cornerstone of how the Minneapolis Police Department is going to build that trust and change our culture. So again, I stand before you in the city of Minneapolis here to say that our deepest condolences. The vast majority of the men and women who proudly put on this uniform each and every day understand the important role and relationship we must have with all of our community members. And when tragedy strikes, it absolutely strikes to the core, and we should all be impacted by this. So with that, I'm going to have Mayor Frey make a few comments.
Thank you, Chief. I will say simply that I support your decision 100%. It is the right decision for our city, the right decision for our community, is the right decision for our Minneapolis Police Department. We've stated our values, and ultimately we need to live by them. It's essential for accountability now and going forward. I appreciate it, and I support you there.
I just want to say that we are sick and tired of being sick and tired. Too many lives have been taken. Yesterday when we saw was a black man who was lynched. Right? They didn't use rope. He used his knee. And that black man, Mr. Floyd, said, "I cannot breathe." Minnesota prides itself on being progressive and being the North. But this is the Jim Crow North. And we demand justice. We are thankful for Chief Arradondo and Mayor Frey for standing with us. We are standing together as a community. We are a collective and we will not be divided. We are done dying. We care. We are with you all. We recognize, we talked a lot about this is not just a civil rights issue. This is a human rights issue. As Black people, humanity matters. Black lives matter. And we are going to continue fighting the fight. Mr. Floyd should have not died. he should still be alive today.
Right.
And we urge you all to stand up and fight with us. This is not a black people issue. This is a human issue. And if you are a human being, you should be outraged about what happened yesterday. You should be ready to stand and fight with us and demand that it never happen again. If you are a police officer and you put on that badge, you should never stand by and watch something like this happen. Each and every officer is accountable. We are all accountable. That could be any of us. And in order for it to be none of us, we must stand up and fight. Thank you.
Stephen Belton, president of Urban League Twin Cities. And I can't begin to tell you how outraged I am, but I know that outrage is one that is shared by anyone who witnessed the video. So let me speak truth power. What we witnessed today was state-sponsored murder, a state-sponsored execution. What we await to see is whether it's going to become state-sanctioned execution. It'll be sanctioned if nothing is done. It'll be sanctioned if it's business as usual. It'll be sanctioned if the history that we have in this country and in this community of ignoring black bodies and the death of black bodies at the hands of officers acting under the color of law is ignored. Enough is enough. We have had enough killing, random killing of black bodies, and we are demanding 4 things. And one, we demand that the videotapes, all 4 body cameras were on, that they be released immediately. Second, we demand that the officers be named publicly and immediately. Third, we demand that these officers be fired immediately. And fourth, we demand that there be an independent investigation. Now you're thinking, well, we already have the investigation by the FBI and by the DCA. The history of the black community here with the FBI is 54 years and 0. No returns in prosecution. The history that we have with the county attorney, which is Mike Freeman currently, is that we get no justice. Ask the family of Jamar Clark. So we have no confidence in these institutions, and we are demanding that there be an independent third-party investigation by someone who's credible, reputable, and professional to get this done and get it done quickly. We don't need months after months of investigation. We have videotape that will be uncontroverted. What we saw was a man's life taken from him, and the inhumanity and cowardice of those officers. It seems like the Minneapolis police are punks. They are able to put somebody's life down when they have them handcuffed and on the ground, able to do that. And then the further cowardice of the 3 officers who facilitated that by not once intervening. They have an obligation under the department's own rules to intervene when there is an excessive use of force. If that wasn't an excessive use of force, then they might as well throw away the book. So do something now, do it quickly. The same old okie doke is no good anymore. We demand justice for Floyd.
We're going to have a couple more speakers, and then they can take questions if they want. The King will let me know.
Good afternoon, I'm Michelle Lee Armstrong. I'm a civil rights attorney and activist in the founder of the Racial Justice Network. First, I just want to express my condolences to the family of Mr. Floyd. They never should have had to lose a loved one like this, nor to see a video surfacing around of how he took his last breath. We treat animals better than we treat black lives in this country and at times in the state of Minnesota. And it's completely unconscionable. I'm glad that Chief Arradondo has taken a stand to release those 4 officers from duty as part of the Minneapolis Police Department. At the same time, I'm also calling upon Mike Freeman to charge those officers for their involvement in killing Mr. Floyd. We are tired of officers being unable to literally get away with murder. While our community faces so much over-policing and criminalization of people cycling in and out of the justice system, we need to send a message to officers that our city will not tolerate physical abuse, excessive force, and murder at their hands. I want to thank the people of the city of Minneapolis, particularly the Black community, for the amount of restraint that our community has exercised in the face of the terrorism that we have experienced. Anyone who watched that video saw the people in the community pleading with those officers to free Mr. Floyd. They stood there videotaping the incident and speaking out and doing what they could. And my heart goes out to the witnesses of that, because we know that if they had gone and physically pushed the officers off Mr. Floyd, they would have been dead too. How can we tolerate a culture like that? It's completely unacceptable and unconscionable. And we are sending a message that it ends here today. Yeah. So stand with us, no matter what your background is. Like Leslie said, this is a human rights issue. Stand with us in solidarity. Thank you.
We're going to have Mike Moss on our civil rights icon, and then we're going to have a message to the community with Reverend McAfee and the people who are trying to keep calm in this area in South Carolina. Mike Moss is going to say something. Yeah, after that, Reverend McAfee.
I hope this is the end of a long journey. I actually fought those fights for 54 years. We are absolutely the only state and the only city in the history of America that lost every police case every step of the way, every single year. With witnesses, with proof. The beginning of, it looked like he had something, I thought he had something, he threw something down, he ran at the police. You have successfully killed our people any way you want, took us to your court, found yourself innocent, and then we suffered the consequences of the loss of our human life. In the meeting today, the discussion was the FBI investigating our civil rights. This is not a case of our civil rights. This is a case of the murdering of human beings who are African Americans. We don't want you to do a civil rights investigation. We want you to do a human rights investigation about your right to kill us at will wherever you want in this country and never have to look back or worry about anybody. As a matter of fact, I watched on television as you protest the loss of your job, you showed up at the Capitol with guns. 10 black men couldn't show up at the Capitol with a baseball bat. You gun us down. You got it in your soul and your spirit to kill us right now. Your president is sanctioning it. Every state is sanctioning it, the way Steve said, and now you can't stop yourself. You're going into slaughter next with our women and children unless we do something to push back. The first step for us is we don't need the investigation to end. We need those men fired, as Steve said, and we need them fired now, all of them. One that committed the act and the others in the conspiracy to let it happen and look the other way knowing their own policy. So it's important that as we move forward this evening and we begin to teach our people and tell our people, be patient with what has to happen, because this is going to be a long battle. It's not about what we do tonight. It's about a long battle of fighting for freedom, justice, and equality.
Yeah. Okay. And now it's a message. It's a rally going on, a protest going on today at 5 o'clock over on 38th and to our community. This is a volatile situation that's going on, and we want to make sure that our community is calm. And we're going to ask Pastor McAfee, and once Pastor McAfee and this group, that'll be it, because we want to make sure our message is clear. What Spike Moss said, what Leslie Redmond said, what Nakima Levy-Pound said. We're trying to make it focused because we want this to be the last time something happened like this, and what the Urban League President Steve Young said. So go ahead, Pastor McAfee. Who else going to do this? Okay. Yeah.
Pastor Howell. Thank you. One suggestion. One, we certainly want to make sure that everybody is supporting the march at 5. And those of you who normally roll and support with us, we want to be at 4:30 to make sure that we're there to support this march and this move. Secondly, might I suggest that we move from I can't breathe, which is singular, to we can't breathe. Because what happens to one happens to all of us. And right now, all of us, our windpipes is being obstructed by external forces. The other thing is, I've asked, I see Sharif and Trey here and many others, Bishop Howell, Bishop Kemp, we want to ask our community for calm at best. You don't have to tell us about anger, upset, Winstar, we already know that. But don't do something that is going to exacerbate the pain upon our community that we're not able to handle right now. All right? So we'll be back out there. We ask y'all for calm. The preachers and pastors are gathered together. Pastor Russell, Bishop Howell, Bishop Washington, our dear sister Stacy in St. Paul with AMEs, Babington and Ronnie somewhere, Steve and so many others. So give us a chance. And if you were not clear, to my understanding, those officers has been fired already. Just understand that. So one of our demands have already been met, but we got to make sure that we complete the process. Thank you.
I just want to reiterate what Pastor McAfee stated. We want this to be as peaceful as possible. We don't want to escalate the problem that we already dealing with. And if we do, we just bring more chaos and confusion upon ourselves. And we don't want to do that. We want to stand for something, because if we don't, we're going to fall for anything. Today, we're going to stand together, united, holding hands. We just left from over there on 38th in Chicago. And might I add, it was a diversity of people over there. So this not only affects the black community, it affects everybody. And I want you guys to make sure you understand that. So all you young brothers and sisters that's out there holding up the sign, that's exactly what we want. We want to keep it peaceful. It's really that simple. My name is Trey.
American Indian Movement aimed at being Mike with a couple of their lives.
I'm Frank Farrell, the new president and chairman of the American Indian Movement. Sunday night, Larry Belfort, the original founder of the American Indian Movement, appointed me in this position. So most of today, we also solidarity with the community, like to express my condolences to the family of this murder victim. Yeah, the last of many. I would like to see this evening to be a peaceful thing. We will get our point across, and we will be there in the future whenever this happens again. Because we know this is not the last one. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mike. I'm with Cup Foods. First and foremost, I want to say we're very, very unfortunate with the tragedy that took place last night, the murder and execution of George. And we're very, very sad news. We stand with the black community and we support the community. We've been here for 31 years. We want to support his family and make sure justice is served. Thank you.
Hey, if you got questions for the Urban League, the Team 11 pound, the NAACP, they'll be speaking on our behalf. If y'all want to get questions to them. If anybody got some questions?
Have you heard anything? I
Steve,
hear people, but have you heard anything about the online recent videos about
We haven't heard anything about so we're expecting
Any other questions? Come out, and we hope we have a peaceful demonstration, but it's kind of volatile over there right now, so y'all all be careful, as we got to be careful in our community.